Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 1. This week on the Sam Jackson and Hugh Jackman Obsessed podcast, as The Eternals is out on the big screens, we'll be having a look at our favourite comic book team films. And as ever, I am joined by Cyclops or Nightcrawler or whatever your favorite, whatever his favorite X-Men is. Mr. Boaz Dix, how are you, sir?
I am Boaz Man.
Boaz
the best
Man,
hero of them all. Boaz Man.
Cool.
Topical knowledge on comic books and movies.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm doing good, man. Although actually, you are right, man. Now that you said that, so many of our films have either Hugh Jackman or Samuel Jackson.
Yep.
So it's basically their show. This thing.
Should change the title.
Change the title. Jackson and Jackman jerk.
Yeah. That is a good title.
We're just masturbating the egos of these two amazing actors. They're just in everything.
All right, as you may already know by now, we have a Buy Me a Coffee account. So if you look in our show notes below, click the link. And if you want to say thank you or show your appreciation, click on the link and buy us a coffee. That would be amazing. What is your pick then, Mr. Encyclopedia Man, for comic book team films?
X2.
Nice.
The second X-Men film, yes.
Cool. Why did you pick this one?
I think we've referenced it several times every time we talk about like an X-Men movie. When we did, was it Days of Future Past and Logan? Like, I did always sort of mention X2. X2 is in my mind like either one of the best or the best, X-Men themed universe thing that I quite like.
Yeah.
And obviously has like huge nostalgic resonance in my childhood. I remember being hugely excited to watch this movie, and I was blown away when I watched it. I think it's kind of like an unappreciated like masterpiece. Well, for a superhero movie. But and definitely for an X-Men movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's kind of why I picked it. I think when you say, and obviously I think most of the X-Men films are like okay to some being really bad, and this one just stands out. I think it's like ahead of the curve, and it kind of gets forgotten about.
Yeah, this is like one of the first DVDs I ever bought, I think. I remember one time I've seen it several times before, but one evening as a kid, I watched X-Men 2 on DVD, and then I literally immediately watched the audio commentary straight after.
Yeah, same. I've watched the audio comment. I think this was one of the first audio commentaries of any movie I've seen on DVD, where I was like, just whack on the audio commentary. Yeah. And I watched all the behind the scenes and everything. I love the DVD for this.
DVDs of that era were just so cool, just packed with so much random stuff.
Yeah.
Extras. So what happens in X2?
So a filler in of sort of the X-Men universe is there are mutants and there are humans. Mutants are this next step in human evolution. The X-Men are a superhero team of mutants to protect humans and mutant kind alike.
Yeah.
After the end of the first film, humanity, like the president and all that, they're a bit skittish about mutants. At the beginning of this film, that adds more fuel to the fire, where the president is almost assassinated by a mutant teleporter. So they have to try and find this teleport and work out. But it turns out this is all the clever plan of General William Stryker, a human military scientist who wants to eradicate mutant kind. So he uses this incident to further his agenda of capturing the X-Men and finding a way to kill all of the mutants. This forces like Magneto and his Brotherhood, the villains from the first film, to join forces with the X-Men to stop this conspiracy.
Nice. This is like a tie between Days of Future Past with me in quality of the X-Men films. I don't think I can separate them properly.
Yeah, I think I quite agree. I think they're very close in my estimation. And after this film, you had a lot of, okay to sort of like mediocre X-Men films. And then I think Days of Future Past, it took a while before the quality was like, oh man, this is kind of a return to form for Bryan Singer and stuff like that.
Because like they messed up Last Stand. That was a bit of a mess.
Yeah. And Origins
was
Wolverine.
Quite bad.
Yeah, that was just terrible.
Well, Deadpool, my God, what did they do to him?
Yeah, that was horrible.
First Class
was okay. Yeah. I liked it. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as like X2, but it's okay.
It's fine.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's fine. And then I think Days of Future Past, you're like, holy shit, this is like...
Yeah. And I kind of gave up on X-Men after that, really. I haven't seen Apocalypse. I've seen bits on TV and stuff, and I haven't really bothered with Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, I haven't seen Dark Phoenix either.
No.
But yeah, I think those two are just where it peaks. X2 is just phenomenal, and it took a while for it to get, that kind of level again, and it's just never sort of matched that.
Right, directing then for X2. The action scene where Stryker's men take over the school is great. Like, my favourite moment is when a special ops guy is trying to, like, stab Logan with a small knife. Then, shing! Logan's claws are out and he stabs the guy through the ribs really intensely. It's just a really great, introduction to Wolverine's action there. But there is a moment that feels a little dated to me where Wolverine dives off the balcony and takes out a load of guys. But then they kind of cut all around it, which I don't think you would do today. It's still fairly effective, but I think if they didn't cut around it so much, it would have been a bit more effective. Plus, when Colossus says to Logan, I can help you, and then Wolverine says, help them, as they're going through the secret escape door. And I was like, no, let him help you. It would be awesome. Yeah. Colossus just threw two guys through a wall.
Yeah.
It would have been so cool to just have like a little like tag team cameo in that bit.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Have like a fastball special or whatever. Maybe you just didn't want to be upstaged. It's like, it's my film.
Yeah. Screw you. Go save the kids.
Yeah,
Let me take the bad guys.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I do think the assault on the school is an awesome scene. You've just got all of this stuff going on. It's phenomenal. I just remember it in the trailers and stuff. It just blew me away. And then watching it. But yeah, Colossus turning, Wolverine. I love where he goes like stealth on a bunch of soldiers, where it's like, be quiet, and he's just killing them like nothing. It's just an incredible, Or where they're knocking out the kids with the dart guns, and then that girl like just falls through the floorboards, and she's like going through them and walls and stuff. That was cool.
One of my favourite scenes is when they're all in like the X-Men jet, and there's two F-16 jets that tell them to land or lower their altitude. And they fall back, lock on missiles, and Storm creates like tornadoes to stop them, which is really like visually really cool. Then just before they stop the F-16s, one fires two missiles, and Jean Grey stops one, and the other explodes right next to the X-Jet, which makes a big hole. And Rogue flies out, and Nightcrawler teleports to save her. Then the X-Jet is like crashing to the ground, but Magneto saves them. I like it a lot because multiple mutants are all working together to create a really cool, cohesive action scene, and we're not focusing just on one X-Men character.
Exactly, yeah. I think that this film does it really well of like having the whole huge cast of characters, because it's not even just the core X-Men like the first film, but all of them, Magneto's Brotherhood. And just everybody does something really awesome. So obviously everybody's going to go, well, Wolverine's going to do awesome things because he did most of the awesome things in the first one, but they just make everybody do like cool things and team up together. And it's just it is spectacular. And I think you're right, that jet scene was amazing, because you have Storm just doing some incredible stuff, Jean Grey and Nightcrawler and Magneto,
and it's all pretty seamless as well.
It is all pretty seamless. It all makes sense. You forgot to mention actually with the Storm thing, I love that, and I could never get, like, she calls down like dozens of tornadoes for the jets. And I even love that scene where Wolverine's like, have we got any weapons in this heap? And she just turns around and her eyes are white. You're like, she is the weapon. Yeah. But I like all the tornadoes are coming down. And she smashes a jet with 2 tornadoes, like one coming from the bottom and one coming from the top. I've never seen anything like that since. Like a sandwich tornado. I thought, man, that's cool.
They incorporate Storm's action really well. You know, there's that bit where she uses lightning to get Nightcrawler off from the rafters in the church. That was a nice touch there. And the way she freezes the room in the second Cerebro room to stop
Jason.
Yeah, Jason. Yeah. Not Freddy.
Yeah, not Freddy. Although he is more like Freddy than he is Jason. He can enter your head and fuck with your mind, so he's more like Freddy.
Yeah. I like the fight between Wolverine and Yuriko, played by Kelly Hu. The fight is really well choreographed, really smooth and stabby. And I think my favourite moment is when Wolverine stabs her with both claws in her stomach, and you discover she can heal too. And she puts both hands on his arms and then her legs on his legs to pull his claws out, and does this great like jump kick, which looks really cool. But what I really like was when she puts each limb on Wolverine, it's synced with the dramatic music beat to make her feel like really badass and really dramatic. Plus a great death when she's filled with adamantium, you know, and drops of metal come out of her eyes and nose. That was that was quite quite a nice touch there.
Because Wolverine has always had, like, you know, the biggest action scenes in you know, physical fisticuffs or whatever, claw action in most of the films. And I still do have a huge soft spot for the, you know, Yuriko, Lady Deathstrike and Wolverine fight in this film. I just think it's incredible. And I think it's my favorite one that he's been in. Like, even when we were talking about Logan and him fighting X-24, I still really like. And I just forgot how much I liked it until I'm watching it. Yeah. I'm like, damn, this is really good.
Have you got a favourite scene then, or shot?
So I would say one of my favourite scenes is mainly because it was a hell of a way to open the film, is the Nightcrawler attacking the president.
Yeah, that's mine as well.
Yeah. That is one hell of a way to open a movie.
Yeah, so cool.
That was absolutely phenomenal, yeah. That blew me away. And it still blows me away when you watch it again. You go, God, I can't believe they did all of this. It's just incredible.
And it still holds up, you know.
It still holds up. It still looks amazing. He's just taken down the entire security team in the White House. It's just so well done.
Yeah, directed really well. Just a brilliant, like, flowing camera. You know, before you get a real good look at him, he's gone to attack someone else. And I think my favourite bit is when Nightcrawler enters the Oval Office and we go into slow motion and he's teleporting a few times in the same shot, taking out agents with ease. It's just a brilliant flow to it.
Where it's slow motion, roundhouse kick, teleports, roundhouse kick, teleport, haymaker, like punch, teleports, throws a guy.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Right, my score for directing, it's very good. Again, I would put it on the same bracket. Certainly the team X-Men ones, not the solo ones. The best with Days of Future Past in terms of the team X-Men films. I think the best X-Men film is Logan, I think. Yeah, I mean, the opening scene, amazing. A lot of the action is really well directed. It's just that dive stunt is just cut together too much. So it looks a tad dated, so I'll go 8.6. How about you, sir?
I could go on quite a while about, like, the action scenes, because I think we've only kind of scratched the surface. There is a lot of action in this movie.
Yeah.
There are so many scenes with so many characters, and I just think they're, like, the epitome of those characters. You're like, it's just amazing. Like Magneto's prison escape. That was fucking cool.
Oh, yeah. I
always think that's cool. Mystique and her fight in the spillway. That's amazing.
I had that in directing.
Yeah, you can just keep going. There's so many really good fight scenes, like, just throughout the whole movie. And I don't think it feels like too much or it's overdone or whatever. I don't think they even outstay their welcome. It's like each fight scene feels unique and it has a particular character doing a certain thing. It's always quite interesting, you know, and, you know, Pyro as well. I mean, you just keep going on. There's a lot of cool stuff in this. Maybe like I'll go an 8.7 or something.
Nice. Right, screenplay then. The structure of this film is really interesting because the film has one giant third act for me. Like, the whole last hour of the film is at Alkali Lake. Did you notice that? You know, Stryker's underground base.
Yeah.
You know, the first hour is all these different stories connected to Stryker's plot until they all come together and have to work together to take down Stryker. And I just love the confidence in the script to have the whole second half of the film just to be taking down, well, pretty much taking down Stryker. Just makes things very simple, and you can take time with, as you said, all the action scenes. You can take time with that and really go for it. Then what's interesting is when they stop Stryker and stop Magnico. When they stop Magnico. Oh, fucking hell, how do you say
Magnico.
Magnico. It's an anime film now.
The Japanese Magneto.
When they stop Magneto targeting the humans and we still have 30 minutes left, the film becomes like a survival film right at the end because the dam is collapsing. You know, if they don't get out of there, they're all going to die, which certainly makes the film even more intense and ramps up the film's stakes even more, even after the main plot is basically finished, because none of the X-Men are safe at this point, you know?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this about like fire sale. Like, if you've got an entire plot in one location, I think this does the same sort of thing. Is always change the goal. Always change the goal of the character every couple of minutes. I think this definitely does that, where it doesn't leave you bored.
Oh, in Free Fire.
Yeah, in Free Fire. Because I was saying about that, how even now, though that's a long time in one location with one sort of setup, the goal keeps changing, and that keeps you invested, where you're not like, okay, move along. I didn't feel like that from the second half, like, move along, because I'm like, yeah, they're here to stop Stryker, but it's like, okay, we're here to stop the machine at Cerebro. Oh, shit, we've got all these villains to fight, so we've got to do that, and you've got Lady Deathstrike and all these other ones. Oh, we got Cyclops to beat up, okay. All right, we're getting to the machine. Shit, the dam's busted. Okay, we've stopped the machine. Great. Now it's going to kill all the humans. It's like, oh, fucking hell. Like, now the dam has actually exploded and we're all going to die. So it's like, the goal changes, I'm just saying. That's a very exciting thing to do. I think it would have dragged if the whole thing would be just kill Stryker or whatever, or just stop the machine, and that was it for the last hour.
Yeah.
Then, I'm pretty sure it would drag, but it didn't, because... You know.
Yeah, the goalpost keeps changing,
Yeah, the goalpost keeps changing, yeah.
I quite like the scene where Brian Cox's character, William Stryker, is talking to his son, Jason, in his ear, you know, in his very own Cerebro room. You see Charles Xavier's got the helmet on. To Charles, Stryker's words are interpreted by this little girl, and when we are on Stryker and Jason, we just hear Stryker's voice. They change perspectives really smoothly, where at first the little girl just repeats what Stryker is saying, but then the little girl just says the lines as Stryker and Jason are behind Charles's shoulder. Then at the end, Stryker just says the lines and not interpreted by the little girl. It just makes the scene more dramatic as Stryker just says the last line, "Make me proud," you know. Because you've got like an interpretation there, Bryan Singer has the opportunity to just really play with what perspectives he can use in certain lines. It's just a really great device to just play around, and I think he pitched that perfectly in that moment, just to give that great moment for Stryker at the end, where you don't need to interpret it right at the end. Just make me proud, you know, because you've already established it at the start of the scene.
Yeah,
so
I think it also makes the interaction quite personal, because you know you've got Charles in like an imaginary world, and Stryker talking to Jason, and that being interpreted, Jason talking to. But then it's almost as if Stryker is talking directly to Charles. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
You know, and I quite like that, and it's more personal because he fucking hates him. He hates me. He hates this guy. I think it's kind of better that you basically establish this stuff, but then you can dial it back because everybody's aware of how these rules work. So then it's like Stryker is talking to Charles. You know, Charles doesn't know that, but you know, that was a pretty good scene. Yeah, I agree.
I really liked the little hints of what's going to happen with Jean Grey. It's just not sudden in the end, turning into the Phoenix, you know. She says right at the start to Scott, "My dreams are getting worse, Scott. I keep feeling something terrible is about to happen." Then when she explodes the last missile on the jet, her eyes burn red for a moment. The same thing happens when she stops Scott's beams under the dam. And I just like how they are very little clues, but they don't distract from the main plot. But it still has like a really impactful moment when she, you know, sacrifices herself at the end.
Because it's payoff. It's just paying off stuff. They do that a lot, where there's just little things introduced well, not little, but big, I suppose, introduced at the beginning, and then there's
Yeah.
payoff. They do link into the main plot, but they are kind of like separate storylines. So even with another big one, so you've got like Jean Grey and her premonitions that something bad is going to happen, and her power as well just increases throughout the film. And then you have like Wolverine, and he has he's struggling. He wants to know how, he lost his memory and got claws and all that stuff. And he can't find anything at Alkali Lake. He recognizes Stryker, he still doesn't know. And then I love, you get payoff, you get catharsis with that, where he confronts Stryker and stuff like that.
I always remember that shot when he's coming down the tunnel and he's all naked and full of blood all over him. And I was like, bloody hell, I'm not sure you could have that shot these days.
Yeah, it's
quite dark.
I mean, like on Netflix, maybe, but maybe not. It kind of ruins it for me, like X-Men Origins Wolverine, because their version of that seemed terrible. Like, like these little memory flashes that he has, they're horrific. You're like, where he's going around the thing and seeing claw marks, and he's really remembering, what happened to him, and then how he reacted to it, and all the blood and everything. That's how I like to remember that event. I think X-Men Origins Wolverine just really took a giant shit on that, because that was horrible how he escaped. That was horrible. Yeah. Very PG.
I think I blocked most of that film out, to be honest.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I don't think you should like separate that from this film.
The timeline for the X-Men universe is very messy.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, I saw this guy try to explain it, and he was like, there's so many damn plot holes.
Yeah. And even with, like, the new ones with the new cast, like, you're going from the 60s to the 90s, like, 40 years. And they still look the same.
Exactly. You're like, okay, so let me get this straight. In about 10 years' time, so from the 90s to the 2000s, X-Men 1, Michael Fassbender is going to look like that to Ian McKellen. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, the diets in the 21st century must be shit. Those characters.
He was looking good, and as soon as it's the year 2000, it's white hair, wrinkles.
What is in this food in this century? There's a lot of great lines in this film. Really great writing in terms of the structure and in the dialogue. Continue smoking that in here, and you'll spend the rest of your days under the belief that you're a 6-year-old girl. You do that? I'll have Jean braid your hair.
Yeah, that was good.
Too much iron in your blood. To start off that great action scene.
Yeah, I love that. Or what was it, Mystique, where she actually pumps that guy with the metal. And he's like bottoms up and just drinks the thing, and then she turns him over and puts metal in his ass and is like bottoms up.
I like the line from Pyro when they're in Iceman's family home and his mum says, "This is all my fault," and then Pyro says, "Actually, they discovered that the males are the ones who carry the mutant gene and pass it on, so it's his fault," and then points to the dad. And then apparently cats like iced tea. I didn't know that. That's very odd.
Yeah, you should try that with your cat.
Yeah, that's very strange. I'm surprised he had a tongue left, because when Wolverine gets his claws out at the cat, and the cat licks the claws, then when he retracts them, you hear it meow. It's like, oh, bloody hell, he cut his tongue off.
cut his goddamn face off. Yeah.
Put the knives down. I can't.
Yeah, that was good.
You are a god among insects. Never let anyone tell you different. Magneto to Pyro. That was cool.
That's a good one.
You were an animal then, you're an animal now. I just gave you claws.
Yeah.
And my favourite is from Stryker, fairly near the beginning, when he's talking to Senator Kelly, and they've just left the meeting room with the president, and he says, I was piloting Black Ops missions in the jungles of North Vietnam when you were sucking on your mama's tit at Woodstock, Kelly. Don't lecture me about war. This is already a war.
Yeah.
Is that your favourite as well?
Yeah, I think that's probably my favourite.
So score for me for screenplay, I will go, I think, higher than directing, because I kind of really like the structure of the film, and I really like what you were saying, that yes, that you have a giant third act, which I kind of really admire, but they have lots of different goals and they kind of keep changing. It just keeps the audience on edge. So I'll go like 8.7, I think. How about you, sir?
I'm going to go like 8.9.
Nice. Right, acting then. I really like the little action scene near the end where Wolverine turns into Mystique. And again, the action is really slick. And I've always really enjoyed like Mystique's action style. A lot of like flips and kicks with her legs and things. It looks really cool. And at the end, it's awesome where she like slides through the doors and as they're closing and just
Gives him the finger.
gives the middle finger, up as she slides
great.
through the door. That was quite cool. But in the third film, I was really pissed when she loses her powers in the third film, like, and Magneto just abandons her. I was like, what are you doing? No!
Yeah, that sucked.
Such a good character.
Yeah, she is. She's absolutely incredible. She does like a bunch of... I think she's so cool in this movie. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, when she tries to sleep with Wolverine. That's weird.
She changes into like all the female characters.
Yeah, and then even Stryker. I thought that was funny. Like, what do you really want? I actually remember the DVD commentary where they were talking, the director, like Bryan Singer and what have you, they were talking, and they got to that scene, and she's changing, into Jean Grey and into Storm and Rogue and stuff. And he's like, get out. And she's like, what do you really want? And she turns into Stryker, and Bryan Singer was like, sex with Stryker?
That's a whole different movie. That's some fan fiction there.
Yeah, I thought that was quite funny.
I love the acting from James Marsden and Hugh Jackman after Jean dies. Wolverine keeps saying, like, she's gone. She's gone. And Cyclops is just shaking him, and Hugh just lets him do it. Just lets him be really aggressive with Hugh, and like Hugh doesn't know what's happening to him. He's such Wolverine is in such shock. He just lets it happen as he's staring into space like Cyclops isn't there. Really emotional stuff from both actors in that moment, really convincing. There's a great little moment from Patrick Stewart right at the end where he's about to teach a class and just looks out of the window. And it's really subtle look of astonishment. And then a student says, "Professor, is everything all right?" And Charles just turns back around with a smile on his face and just says, "Yes, I think it will be." Such a random moment, not seemingly connected to anything until you hear Jean Grey's voice, and then you see the wings in the water, and then they mess up the third film.
Yeah. They hint at her resurrection and mess it up. They messed it up twice now. But I think it's because I was so pumped for the third one because it ends on a cliffhanger. It ends on a she's coming back as like Phoenix, and you're like, oh shit, this is crazy.
But it's such a great moment for Xavier's character because he knows in that moment that she's back, but not the same. It's just really well done, I think that. So my favourite performance for me is Brian Cox as Stryker. Just a really great role for him as the villain. You just can tell he's really enjoying himself in this role.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, he's got the best lines. Yeah, just brilliant. Love Brian Cox.
Yeah, no, because I was saying before when you were talking about the script and lines, and you were saying all these other lines, and lots of characters have loads of lines. Brian Cox has some really amazing lines, and he delivers them great. I love when he's basically bearing his heart about how much he hates mutants, and you can tell he despises them. Like, he's all been trying to be fun and games and a bit sarcastic most of the time, but he truly hates them, like, with a passion. And he tells that story about how his son, who's a mutant, is responsible for his wife's death. And he's very pissed off. He's very distraught. It's like, and I like that line of he brings in his son, who's now like this experiment to mind control mutants. And he's like, "What have you done to your son? This is your son." He's like, "No, Charles, my son is dead, just like the rest of you." And he just storms off.
Yeah, really great subtle performance in times, and really intimidating at times as well. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite performance as well, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think William Stryker definitely stands out to me as it's just like one of the best. And I don't think, because they've recast him so many times now, and I still really pine for Brian Cox in the part. It's like I don't think any of these other guys can touch him.
No.
You know.
So my score for acting, I will go... I think the standouts are Hugh Jackman again. I mean, he's always good in all the films we've picked from him. Our 6th one now.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, they're amazing in all the films that they've done for me. So I will go like 8.5. How about you, sir?
Yeah. I'll go 8.6.
Right, let's add up the scores then for X2, X-Men United. X2 gets exactly 52 points. It is a good score. That's it for part 1. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 2 to see who wins. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episode. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast. For X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.